Hey, welcome to Speaking Geek with Ranger Reek. I'm your host, Ranger Reek. Sorry about the late start today, guys. A little rough getting out of bed this morning. Oh, getting the coffee in me. Getting the coffee in me. It's awesome. Well, it's been a long week, but we're going to start off the weekend right. Happy Saturday, everybody. It's cold here in northern Illinois. It was 70 degrees on Thursday, and currently it's 34. So last week, I started this little talk show, and it went pretty good. We're going to watch some sharks today while we talk. Yeah, I started the show, had everything set up. I'd like to apologize to any listeners out there who came in seeking a family-friendly version of the show. There was a song that played that had a couple profanities in it. I'd like to extend my apologies to the Helm family. I did not realize. I thought I scoured that. Thought I scoured my my playlist a little bit better than I did. So this week we're going to add some copyright-free music, because on the other side of that, that first inaugural video of Speakin Geek was banned worldwide by YouTube for copyright infringement. So I got to get a little bit better at following what I'm doing. So I'm going to be stuffing my face with a bagel while I do this. I know that's really, really professional, but it is what it is. So this week, we're going to talk all things video games. It seems to be a very, very fitting topic to discuss. I've had a long history with video games. It was 1980 something. I can't remember exactly when, but I was just a young child, over 20 some years ago. My first experience with video games was the Atari 2600 that my cousin Eric had. Hey Stu, thanks for stopping by, man. Good morning. How's it going? Lovely weather we're having here in northern Illinois. The middle of April. Feels just like spring should feel. 34 degrees. Threat of snow. Ooh, that's a big fish. What the heck is that thing? But, so yeah, my first foray into video games came, I want to say, right around 1981, 82, right in there. My cousin Eric had an Atari 2600. I was 4 or 5 years old. And I can remember playing Frogger and Pitfall. Well, not really playing. I watched while he played. And then when he wasn't home, I would do my best to play. So that was it. That was the beginning of a beautiful, beautiful relationship with video games that started in 1981. So, was that 36 years I've been video gaming? Now, I'm also an avid athlete. Like, well, not anymore, but I used to be. But I'm an outdoorsy guy. I like sports. I like video games. I like all things. Like when I get a passion going, it's hard to stop the passion from going. Excuse me as I stuff my face full of bagel and coffee this morning. Oh, so yeah, I mean, once I get a passion, it's kind of hard to stop me from doing something, but as video games have evolved, I guess so has my tastes in video games themselves. But yeah, so 1977 is when Atari started producing the Atari 2600s, or at least that's when Sears Video Arcade Series released them, from 77 to 83, and that gave way to the 7800 and blah 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 blah. So I loved playing those video games. What was that one? Joust was one of my favorites. But yeah, I mean, most of my time with video games would be spent watching my cousin play for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And then the glorious days of video games started. Nintendo, right? Nintendo was not just it was a life-altering event when the Nintendo came out in 1985. Like, when they released it, like, I mean, when the Nintendo came out, like, I mean, there was a cultural shift. Up until then, like, you had the Atari, but to get really quality video gaming, and you had to go to an arcade, which I absolutely adore. That was one of my favorite things to do. I could spend hours and hours and hours at a video arcade, and I did for years and years, even after the Nintendo came out. But 1985, the Nintendo Entertainment System, 8-bit video game console released. Commodore 64, yeah, I kind of glossed over all that. Commodore 64, what was the other one that came out right around then too? Or was that just a little bit later? ColecoVision? Remember ColecoVision? I don't even know how to spell ColecoVision? When did that come out? Oh, that came out in 82 as well, right? Yeah, they were competing against Atari. I remember that. My neighbor had ColecoVision. I did not like... Get out of there, dog. That's not your bagel. Yeah, Commodore was going against Apple II. Which one? Was Commodore or Apple II the one that had the dungeon game, right? What was it called? That text-based... The text-based video game system. Or not even video game system, but like... You had to get a key, and is that it? Zork? Yeah, Zork. Was that on Apple or was that on Commodore? Do you remember? I mean, I suppose I could check. I have a massive computer machine in front of me. 77. Zork came out 1977. Oh, here it is. Zork, straight off the Wikipedia. Zork is one of the earliest interactive fiction computer games, with roots drawn from the original genre game, Colossal Cave Adventure. First version written between 77 and 79. It looked like, let's see, it was on PDP-10, Atari, Commodore 64, IBM, Apple II, Amiga. Wow. Yeah, it was kind of on everything. Zork PDP came out in 77. Zork 1, 80, 81, Zork 2, 82, Zork 3. So, yeah, I really didn't. I missed that kind of genre, but I did dabble in ColecoVision a little bit. My neighbor had it. And I couldn't get over that goofy control pad thing with all the numbers. I mean, we used the control pad for various fantasy type role-playing stuff we did. Like as kids, we were space pirates or whatever, or we needed to have a transponder real fast. We'd have a transponder there with a ColecoVision controller. But man, Nintendo, when they came out, holy cow, did they take the world by storm. And I'm sorry that you missed the Nintendo era, because that shaped my future. Like really, legitimately shaped my future. I would try, because they were so expensive back then. My parents didn't have one, and I had no fault at them. Those machines were expensive back even then. Oh man. So I didn't own my first Nintendo Entertainment System until like 1989. I mowed a bunch of lawns, but up until then, my Uncle John, my cousin Eric, a couple of friends, they all had the Nintendo, and I would do whatever I could to spend as much time as I could playing Nintendo. Like I'd play baseball and I would do all this other stuff. But as soon as I found out someone had a Nintendo, this is horrible. I'm a horrible person. I was like, I need to be that person's friend so I can play Nintendo with them. And my taste in games for the Nintendo was really, really weird. Because like Super Mario Brothers was obviously the game that came with the package. I think was a Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt, like 2-game hybrid thing. So I played a lot of Super Mario Brothers because that was the only game a lot of kids had. But the first Nintendo game that really grabbed all of my attention was The Legend of Zelda. And I mean, I've probably told you this story a bunch of times too, but I played, it was the first video game that you could save your progress on. Like up until then, most games was like an arcade. You sat down to play the game and you had to finish the game or get as far as you could in the amount of time that you had. Now Nintendo had some features in some of their games where you could put a code in and it would skip you to that part of the programming. And like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, every like 4 or 5 boxers that you beat, there would be a new numerical code that you could put in at the launch screen that would get you to that so you'd skip hours of playing. I mean, they eventually had a code that jumped you right to Mike Tyson, and that guy was tough. But Legend of Zelda was the first game that you could save your progress on, and you had to do something really goofy with the machine. Like you had to push the cartridge down, hold the reset button, and then hit the power button, and it would save your progress on the machine. And I spent hours and hours. And part of the reason I spent hours and hours was like I drew the maps. Like there was no real way to tell where you were in the world other than like remembering. So I came up with a brilliant idea. I grabbed a bunch of graph paper from my dad, who was probably upset because I don't know how much graph paper costed then, but it was pretty fancy graph paper. And I grabbed a whole stack of it. I mean, I probably took like 150 pages. And then I started using colored pencils and I would draw the maps as it would render onto the screen. Like it did that slide, whether you went left, it would slide left. You went right, it slide right. So you could kind of tell which direction you were going. But I would come on and I would draw every feature that was on the map. And I would put like little circles with X's through them where the monsters were. And then where like eventually you would find secret doors and stuff by hitting, like you'd shoot like a fireball at like a bush and a secret door would open up. So I spent hours and hours and hours doing that. If I put I still have those maps. They're at my mom's house, and I really, yeah, exactly. That's what I said. I really need to put those together, like because that would sell a bunch. But I did all that. I actually never completed Legend of Zelda. I never beat the game, and here's why. One spring day, it's raining. So instead of going to play baseball at the local baseball field with my friends like we did every weekend, when of course it wasn't like actual Little League baseball season. We just played baseball all day, every day. In the winter, we played hockey. But, so there it is. My mom says, hey, go ahead and play the Nintendo, or the Nintendo, because this is when I actually had my own. So I'm 12 years old, playing Legend of Zelda. It was the only game I had, was the Legend of Zelda for the Nintendo. That's the only one I had forever. So there I am playing. And my mom gave me permission to play Legend of Zelda. And I don't know how far I went, but I had been playing for like 60 hours at this time. Like total game, total gameplay was about 60 hours at this point. My sister, being also the great sister that she is, she came in and said something to me. Now, I really honestly do not remember what she said. I do not remember what she said to me. But I retaliated and said something to her. And she came over to the TV and hit the power button on my Nintendo. I just explained to you how you had to save your game. Hours and hours and hours of video game play wiped free by 1 second of time. She came in, she hit that power button, I froze. I don't think that might have been the birth of Ranger Reek's anger issues too, now that I think about it. Hey, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. I gotta make that thing last a little bit longer because I did not see who that was. I apologize. As soon as it updates, I will say thank you again. Thanks for joining us. But yeah, so that was probably the day that I became super rage-filled. I chased her down. She was screaming. And I got to her. And it's the only time in my entire life where I hit my sister. Now, I don't advocate violence in any way, shape, or form. But I was so filled with rage that I punched my sister in the head. And she took it like a champ. I'll tell you that. She took it like a champ. That, in turn, got me probably my worst whooping ever. Deservedly so. I was not allowed to play video games for a very, very long time after that. For a very, very long time after that, I was not allowed to play. Unless I went to the arcade with my uncle. We'd go to the arcade sometimes. But yeah. Not happy. Oh, coming across some news here. Wow. So here's kind of a big thing. Speaking of arcades, Billy Mitchell. Wow. Oh, this is big news. Billy Mitchell, Donkey Kong champ, Billy Mitchell. There was a documentary made about him. The King of Kong. He was stripped. Exactly. No, she did not understand. She did not understand. She had no clue what was going on. And I never went back. that was the last time I ever played The Legend of Zelda. I was so heartbroken. I was so demoralized that I almost gave up video games for good. Wow. The Guinness Book of World Records and Twin Galaxies decision. They're the guys who run all the records. This guy, Billy Mitchell's, they've removed all of his world records. Wow. That's big. Yep, they couldn't do it. That was heartbreaking. So then the next... Yeah, I'm sorry when I say that it's the first video. It was the first console game. Like, I don't know a whole lot about... Oh, yeah, Ultima 2. Yeah. Oh, man. And that's Zelda, like, I didn't realize it, but Legend of Zelda actually shaped my love of RPGs later on, like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. Because I didn't start playing Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, I dabbled in it at that point. Like, I remember one day sitting around the table, my uncle came home and he was like, "We're going to play Dungeons and Dragons." And I was like, "What the heck is Dungeons and Dragons?" And I remember watching the cartoon at that point, and I loved it. It's how Hank, come on. Hank is the ultimate ranger. My favorite character in Dungeons and Dragons by far. I mean, you're going to see a pattern as we go through, like, video games and comic books. You're going to see the type of people I like are like that. But yeah, he came through, set down his notebook. I was talking about how we were going to go, and he was describing, I don't know, I was like 6 years old or something like that. And he's like, and from out of the cave comes a dragon. And he pulls out this, like, big square 9-volt, like, this gigantic battery that my grandpa had in the garage. And he slams it down on the kitchen table and goes, "Roar!" And I looked at him and I was like, "That's not a dragon." So I didn't really understand then. And then Willow, the movie Willow, is ultimately what got me into it. Because up until Willow released, I was playing, like, superhero games. I played a lot of Riffs. And TSR's Marvel game, which is still, to this day, my favorite superheroes game. Until we'll see about Mythic D6 when that comes out. But, so yeah, getting off topic, tangential there. Yeah, Billy Mitchell loses all of his records. He was originally tagged as the first player to hit 1 million points on Donkey Kong. And then his highest score was 1.05 million. Those scores have been removed. And what was his name? Something Weeb? Steve Weeb was the other player, and he was the total underdog in this King of Kong. 2007 documentary, King of Kong. Came out in 2007. He became famous first for achieving a perfect score in Pac-Man in the 80s. Steve Weib, I hope I'm saying that name, was the underdog in this championship run. But apparently, Mr. Mitchell did not use a regulation Donkey Kong cabinet. After further review, he used MAME, Multiple Arcade Machine Emulator. Therefore, he had all of his titles stripped. Well, sucks to be him. But I mean, that's going to bring all kinds of all kinds of other things. Like, is he gonna? Are other records gonna be under question now? That's crazy. Oh, reading this, man, it's nobody ever saw him beat those. Like, there was nobody present. I get it when you do arcades. There's a lot of that stuff, but he sent in videos. That's how they figured it out. Oh my goodness. The way Donkey Kong renders. The way Donkey Kong renders into the screen is called a slide render. Yeah, exactly. You can pause it, and that's like that, and it's like you can mess with the code apparently, and you don't have that grind. So he's got these videos that he sent in that showed that he was breaking these records. But a forum poster, Zelnia, Jeremy Young, aka Zelnia, claimed that Mitchell used MAME and not an original arcade machine, which are the regulations for submitting a high score state. And here, quote, real DK, Donkey Kong, hardware generates the image in the same way you would open or close vertical window blinds from side to side, wrote Young. Older versions of MAME, pre.122, generate the image in the same way you would put together a puzzle, piece by piece, end quote. And then they show the, oh wow, cool. Yeah, no, that's totally, you could totally see that I don't believe they didn't, how did they not see that? Anyway, moving on, let's do some more talk. Billy Mitchell stripped of his world records. That just goes to show you need to be honest. Be honest, people. And great things will happen to you. Or be honest and things will happen to you. There's a shark. I've been waiting to see that guy. He's probably swam by a bunch of times, but I ain't seen him. Stealing a little thunder from my friend Callie Gold. I watch him play a lot. He always has a fish tank up. So I was like, what am I going to put up for my stream today? All right, so back to Nintendo. Yeah, Nintendo was my stuff. The first game system that my family owned that I didn't purchase was the Sega Master System. That came out right around the same time Nintendo did, but it was like half the price. Like, it was not as expensive. My dad, I don't know what it was. My dad always did this thing. Like, two things would come out at the same time, and he would be like, I'm going to go with the cheaper version, which, fiscally responsible, Dad. Good job. However, like, so remember when the great video cassette wars, VHS, beta. VHS, beta. Everybody bought VHS. That was the standard. My dad bought beta. And then when those those video rental stores came up, like, I went through their entire library of beta videotapes in like a month. Oh, I loved beta. I thought it was great. But I went through their entire library in a month. I don't know. Beta that was Sony too, wasn't it? I think beta tapes were Sony. Betamax, right? Was it beta? Oh, for sure. It was totally, but then that was like the... Betamax, called beta as it is low as consumer level analog recording set format of magnetic tape. It was developed by Sony and released in Japan on May 10th, 1975. The first Betamax device introduced in the United States was the LV-1901 console, which included a 19-inch color monitor. Man, now that I'm looking at this, I don't know why I didn't notice this before, but Sony kind of Sony kind of misses the ball on a lot of things, all the way up until the PlayStation, till the console wars that just happened. Right? Like, was that, or Blu-ray, I guess. Were they the first to do Blu-ray? Oh, well, that's another show. We can go into that. Holy cow, can we go into that? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what it was like. And that's another show too. Apple. I am not a Apple people. If you are watching, I apologize, but I hate Apple. I just don't like it. And there's really not a reason. I don't know why I don't like it. Maybe it's because I have to buy all new stuff every time. Like, every time I want to do something. I don't know. Anyway, we'll move on. That'll definitely be on the topics. Heck, I'm getting all kinds of people following and I can't see. I don't know why I can't see. Why is that not? Oh, did I not do this? Okay, so hang on. I'm gonna screen sharing here is fun. How many did I own personally? I think I owned 4. Like it was a long time until I owned 4. But there was a period of time where Legend of Zelda was the only game I owned. I traded my Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt game. Are you ready for this? I traded my Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt game for a football. That was a bad day in the house, too. That was a bad day in the house. What was I going to look? Oh, I got to do... I got to open up something here. You can see some files. Cool. Cool files. Where you get it go? No, I didn't trade it. I didn't trade it for a video game. I traded it straight up for a football. Yeah, not a video game. I traded it for a football. Oh, that's funny. I thought it was a great trade at the time. Brianico, thank you for the follow, Brianico. Thank you for Fortnite Rookie. Thank you for that follow. I appreciate it. Welcome to Ranger Reek's Speakin Geek. So yeah, I traded my Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt video game for a football. And then I owned Excite Bike, Kung Fu, and oh my god, what was the 4th game that I owned? I borrowed a lot of games from friends, but the only ones I owned were Legend of Zelda, Excite Bike, Kung Fu, which was slightly behind Legend of Zelda. I absolutely loved Kung Fu. Oh my god, what was the other one that I liked? Oh, this is gonna drive me nuts. Legend of Zelda, Excite Bike. Oh, ice hockey. Yeah, that's exactly what it was like. I had ice hockey where you had the little fat guy or the little skinny guy or the medium guy and you just played back and forth. Yeah, I had that game. That was fun. That was the last time. So at that point in my life, I started mowing lawns and stuff because I knew that I needed to buy video games. And like, it's not like now where like I know months and months, sometimes years, I know in advance when a new console's coming out. Back then, I didn't know until I was at the store. I was like, what is this? Like the Sega Genesis? When the Sega Genesis or the TurboGrafx 16, when those came out, I had no clue they were coming out until I saw them in the store. And then it was just a race. Every time I would go, I'd be like, we got to go. Is there something new? And then I got a video game magazine. I can't remember which one it was. But I started getting a video game magazine. And I would mow lawns, and I would shovel driveways of snow, and I would do whatever I could to get money. Yeah. When I found that out, I subscribed. And I did that. I did that kind of shadily too, but I ended up paying for it. Like, it was one of those, I needed to subscribe, but I had to ask my mom, and you needed a credit card number, so I got her credit card, and I wrote it, and I left like $20 on the counter. Hey, sissy, good morning. Good morning. I hope I didn't wake you up. I'm sorry, there's fresh coffee out here if you want fresh coffee. You missed it. I just told the story of the Legend of Zelda, where you shut my game off and I had to beat you up for the first time. Huh? I just love that. Sissy says, good morning, peeps. You take care of the dog. I woke up late this morning. Sasha will be happy to see you. She's staring at me. Sasha's staring at me because I did say it quite humbly, right? But I wasn't proud of it. I wasn't. But she got her revenge years later. One theme that you're going to find out as you listen to me talk more and more is that I love hockey. Hockey is my favorite sport. I played it when I was young. I watch it now. It was just great. It was the most amazing thing, other than everything else that I say is the most amazing thing. That's another theme you're going to find. I say this is my favorite, or it's the most amazing. I have a lot of passions. A lot of them. But yeah, she got her revenge later when she cracked me over the back of the head with a hockey stick. And I got in trouble for it. So that story goes like, you're outside playing street hockey. It wasn't even ice hockey. She wanted to play street hockey with me. And I beat her. I was a lot better athlete than she was. I went around her and I scored a goal. And she didn't like it, so she hauled off and axed my head with a hockey stick. And I was seeing stars. I think that was the first time I understood what the term seeing stars was all about, because I had no clue where I was at. Here I am bleeding all over the back of my shirt. Right, I'm holding my head. I go walk. She runs into the house screaming bloody murder. She's screaming like I hit her. She runs into the house. Next thing I know, I'm standing in the middle of the street, holding my head, bleeding. My mom comes out on the porch. Richard, Steven, what did you do? And I was like, oh God. Ma, I think I'm dying. And I ended up getting 22 stitches. 22 stitches in 1990. Yeah, so she got her revenge on me. I guess that's a good thing. So yeah, ice hockey, Excite Bike, Kung Fu, and Legend of Zelda. Those were the games that I owned. Sega Genesis came out in what was that? When did Sega Genesis come out? 1980? 1990? 90? Where did it come out? 88, holy cow. North America, they released in 89. So yeah, 90 or 91 was when I bought my first Sega Genesis. That's when the video arcades started going away. I mean, they were still around, and there's still a couple now I got to get to out and see them, but they weren't big draws anymore, or they weren't big draws the way I remember them. They started getting all these fancier machines and stuff. I remember I could beat the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game. I could beat it on $1.25. Now, for those of you arcade gamers, that's quite a feat. I beat the whole game. It took me 4 hours, and I could beat it with $1.25. So that's original start, right? And then four replays, right? Or 4 continues. And then the X-Men game, the double cabinet X-Men game where it had 2 screens. Oh my goodness. That was probably my favorite arcade game of all time. Yeah, it was, I mean, it took a lot out of me, but I did it. I didn't do it by myself. It was me and like 3 of my friends. We would go and we'd all spend $1.25. Well, no, not all of us. A lot of them would spend upwards of like 10, 12 bucks on the game, but I could do it on $1.25. I remember one day going to the arcade and my friend Josh was like, you're gonna need more money. I only had like $3, and they didn't even want me to go because I only had $3. And I was like, no, I'll be fine. I'm just gonna play Turtles. And I did. I played 4 hours. We were there. But yeah, when the Sega Genesis came out, so here's where the arcades started getting crazy because Mortal Kombat came out. All the fighting games started to come out. Those Street Fighter 2, those games really, really defined a generation. Like when I started working, when I got my first job at the Pizza Hut, we had a Street Fighter 2 machine, and that's all we did. When we were downtime, we'd play Street Fighter 2 all day, every day. So much to the point where my supervisor Tim and my best friend Eric were fighting for the high score on Street Fighter 2. Tim got it one night. Eric got mad and unplugged the machine, which reset all the high scores. So Tim was not happy about that. It was a big fight. Yeah, Sega Genesis really, so like when you look at the thing of it, right? Like when you look back to the history of video games, Nintendo was so revolutionary, right? Like, I mean, that changed the way video games were viewed and the way they were brought to the forefront. If that was it, everything from Nintendo Entertainment System was just adding on or trying to find some. Sega Genesis was the best console for years. Sega Genesis was the best console that there was. The games that they had, the controller layout. That was one big problem that I had with the Nintendo, was there was an actual medical condition that came about from the Nintendo called Nintendo Thumb. I don't know if you guys remember the Nintendo Thumb. Or it was, I don't know if that's actually what they called it, but that's what we called it, right? Gamer's grip is what the official, it's a repetitive strain injury. I still have, yeah, she's got her Genesis, yeah. Yeah, Mom still has the Genesis. Actually, Sissy, if you ever go over to Mom's house, go downstairs. I have 6 boxes, and each one of the boxes has video game systems and games. That's all that's in there, video games and video game systems. Oh, now that I'm reading this, holy cow. So yeah, Nintendo Thumb, Gamer's Grip, leads to lateral epicondylitis, which is tennis elbow, which explains why I have tennis elbow. Other than, learning how to throw a curveball when I was 10. So that's funny. But yeah, I hated those controllers. And then the Genesis came out, and those were such nice controllers. The 3 buttons, the combos you could throw out there. And I think that's when Final Fantasy came out. I think the first time it was a game was while it was on Sega. Or maybe that's just I guess it came out on Nintendo. I guess I misremembered that. which would be why I never played it. Oh, cool. All right. So yeah, up until Final Fantasy Online, this XIV, this Final Fantasy 14, A Realm Reborn, I had never played a Final Fantasy game. Nintendo. My top 3 favorite games on Nintendo, the original Nintendo. Legend of Zelda, hands down, favorite game of all time. Favorite game. Contra, because that was where we found the Konami code. Up, down, down, left, right, BA start. BA select start, if you're playing with 2, gave you 99 lives. You can use that in everything. Any Konami game, you can pop that code in there in some way or form, and something happens. Something cool happens. So yeah, Legend of Zelda, hands down, my favorite game. Contra, my second favorite game, because I could play that with a friend, right? We would sit down and we would play that game, and we weren't against each other or anything like that. Like, we were on the screen at the same time, where like when you were 2 playing Super Mario Brothers, like I would have to play and then I would die and then you would play, and that's how it went. Like, it was a back and forth. Contra was one of the first games where you could play on the screen at the same time with each other, and we would play for hours and hours and hours. And then my third favorite Nintendo game of all time would have to be Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, or Super Punch-Out, whichever version you had, because of legal battles, Mike Tyson's legal complications. They had to change the name, but I have a love of boxing. I always had a love of boxing. Even though it's so violent and deadly and dangerous for people, I just think it's neat. They call it the sweet science for a reason, and it's more than just like I don't know. We can talk about that all day long. However, I got so good at Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, like when you had parties, right? Like, people would come over and they'd be like, "Oh, what games are we playing?" As soon as I heard him say we're going to play Punch-Out, they'd be like, "Rick, you go." Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, as the video games, as the programming, as all the hardware and software, as it develops, right? We get to where we're at now, where we have like VR on the horizon. Like, I mean, it's out, but I'm not going to get a VR machine until it's. Is that a game? Herzog Zoo? Zoo? I don't know what Herzog. Is that a game? I never knew that one. Herzog Zoo? Oh yeah, I'm reading it right now. That's cool. Herzog Zwie? Is it Zwie? Zwei? Herzog Zwei? Yeah, there it is. Herzog Zwei. Oh, I can't. Oh, so yeah. 16-bit came out 89, 90. So yeah, I'm surprised I never played this. Oh, well, it's cited as an inspiration to the developer. Yeah, cool, for sure. Warcraft, StarCraft, Command and Conquer. Wow, that looks pretty cool. You ready to hear what my favorite Sega Genesis game of all time was? My sister's going to laugh when I say this. My favorite Genesis game of all time goes hand in hand with my favorite Disney cartoon movie of all time. I love Toe Jam and Earl. I absolutely love Toe Jam and Earl. I loved Mortal Kombat. I loved Sonic. I loved all of those games that came out. But I would play hours on end the Lion King video game. It was such a fun game. How could you not remember that game, sissy? You don't remember the one part in the game where the monkeys are throwing Simba from tree to tree to tree? Like a pinball? Yeah. No, it was just a platformer. There was no real point to it, but the music in the game, like every time you switched a scene, it was like a digital version of the Disney music, right? Like, it's so fun. And like at work, the other day, I sing when I'm working. Like, I don't know, it's something I've always done. Keeps me focused, you know. It's just, I don't even realize I'm doing it sometimes. I just bust out in song. Well, the other day, all I was singing was Disney music. Disney, and one of the guys walks by and he'd be like, "Do you know anything from such and such?" And I'd be like, "Oh yeah." And most of my Disney song selections come from The Lion King, Aladdin. Every so often I'll throw in The Little Mermaid or Pocahontas. I'll throw in a lot of those because my sister would always get those CDs, and I would. Exactly, that's exactly what it's like. I can show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid. Tell me, princess, now when did you last let your heart decide? I can show you the world, take you wonder by wonder, over, sideways, and under, on a magic carpet ride. All right, that's it. That's it for 9 o'clock in the morning. That's all you're getting. That's all you're getting. But yeah, that's all I do. Like, and when I do like the Lion King, like my favorite Lion King song. Right. No, I know you had the CDs because you played the flute, but I remember like you'd be like, "Where's my CD?" And I'd be like, "I don't know what you're talking about," as I'm singing the song. But that was my favorite Sega Genesis game. Was the Lion King. I absolutely loved the Lion King. So then, I mean, it was a little bit of time before I did video games on a regular basis after that, you know, getting into real life situations, you know, college life brought this, the Super Nintendo. The Nintendo 64 was another one that just revolutionized gaming as an evolution of like the first person shooters and like the online, not like online play, but you can totally see like in games like Call of Duty and Battlefront and all these games that they have now, Fortnite, all of these games, right? Like you can harken them back to one Nintendo 64 game, which was probably, it wasn't my favorite Nintendo 64 game because I'm really bad at those games, but 007 GoldenEye, right? You had the split screen, you had the four screens. We had a friend who had like this big, heavy, like 60-inch TV, right? I'm talking these big ones that weighed like 1,000 pounds. We came up with a little cardboard cutout thing, and we had bar stools. We sat like almost like stadium seating. We had two guys on the floor in front who had the bottom left and the bottom right of the screen. And we put a bar stool behind them, each one of them. that raised them up about 2 feet, the next people, and they sat up higher, and they had the top left and the top right screen. And then we had these cardboard cutouts that went vertically and horizontally across the middle of the screens. So you could only see your screen, because if you could watch where people were at, then where's the fun in that? But that game, that was the basis of all of these Call of Duties and all of these shooters games. Like, that's just crazy. But my favorite Nintendo 64 game would have been Rogue Squadron, where you got to play and fly all of the spaceships from Star Wars. Yeah, no, it was like we took hours to build it. Like, we'd cut cardboard up and we'd go, oh, that doesn't work, so we'd have to start over. And we couldn't tape it to the TV, or like we'd have hell to pay. So we got these clips that you could clip to the side of the TV, and oh man, it was such. But that's how we played. That's how we did our GoldenEye, right? Like, that was GoldenEye, and I was horrible. I was so bad at those games. And I mean, the Nintendo 64 gave way to like PlayStations and all those ones. Xbox, when Xbox came out, that was super huge. PlayStation was revolutionary. PlayStation 2, I had my PlayStation 2 up until about 5 years ago and still played it on a semi-regular basis. I had that while I had my PlayStation 3, my Xbox 360. Now the only console that I play on is a PS4. I think it's a better machine than the Xbox One is. I don't want to make anybody angry, but that's my personal opinion. I think the PlayStation 4 is a lot better of a machine. The majority of my gaming now is done on the PC. And I play a lot of the MMO RPGs, multi-massive online. I don't even know what that stands for. MMO, multi. MMO stands for. Yeah, I didn't have a whole lot of games for the Genesis. But right, that was when Blockbuster came out, right around like in those areas, right? Like Blockbuster started getting good. So I didn't own a lot of games, but I rented a ton of games. That's cool. That is so cool. I wish I would have known you in 2000. If I'd known you in 2000, I would have just given you my. I would have just given you my Sega. Massively multiplayer online gaming. MMO. Massively multiplayer online gaming. Oh yeah, 3DO. Oh man. So we can't talk video games without talking like handheld consoles, like those handheld video game systems, like the Game Boy or the PlayStation. Yeah, $200 per game. Yeah, the 3DO. Crazy. Here we go. 3DO interactive multiplayer. Panasonic 3DO. Yeah, Coleco football. Yeah, that's another one. Handheld. Oh my goodness. From 93 to 96. The introductory. Well, yeah, I know you played Kirby. You even got one of those attachments to your Game Boy so you could play it at night. That was cool. 32-bit 3DO, $699.99 introductory retail price. And that's the only one. That might be the only system I never owned. Yeah, exactly. That is a true fact. The oversaturation, and then yeah, because I mean the programming gets right, like it evolves and develops in during the life cycle of the system, and then new system comes, and like that's you're right. I mean the quantity is less because people are leaving, and like I got to go through and look at my video games that I have, because I bet you I got some pretty good collector games. Oh my God! I was talking to somebody. Remember the Atari? They did that big documentary on this one too. The Atari game, the E.T. the extraterrestrial video game for the Atari 2600. Log Runner. I did play Log Runner. I absolutely love Log Runner. And what was the other one? Log Runner, and then there was was it Log Runner or Load Runner? Oh, you know what? Maybe I didn't play Log Runner. Right, Load Runner. Log Runner, like I'm Googling Log Runner. Log Runner looks like a PC browser game now. It's almost like it's a Frogger. But Load Runner, I played Load Runner. And Load Runner and Spy Hunter, is that the one? Load Runner, L-O-D-E, right? Right, yeah. Right. That was a puzzle-oriented one. Yeah, yeah. Load Runner was like, it was like you were like Indiana Jones, but it was more than just like, it was more than just like run, jump over him, run, jump over him. Right? You had to like, oh yeah, look at it. I'm Apple II version of Load Runner. You had to try and trap them. Yeah, oh man, hours I would play. This was the one, so I had a friend who lived across the street from me named Steve Myko. And that's where I got, like, I would go over and we'd play Load Runner, or we would play Spy Hunter. He really liked Load Runner. I really liked Spy Hunter. So we would spend hours playing different. We'd switch back and forth. You had to trap them. Yeah, that was really, really cool. Really, really, really cool stuff. No, I can't say that I ever played Impossible Mission. Let's see if I can get... Oh yeah, I can definitely say I've never played this. Yeah, I just loaded him up. This guy, what's his name? Der Schmoo? Complete walkthrough from the Commodore 64 game Impossible Mission. Yeah, no, it looks beautiful for 1985. Oh, wow, I just found this guy. I want to try and do this. This guy did Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! In 15 minutes, 12.14 seconds. Oh, here we go. Top 10 games, top 10 arcade games of 1980s. Oh, see, that's why I wanted to do a show on video games, is because Pit Stop was great. Rampage came out this weekend. Rampage came out this weekend in the movie theater, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and that was one of my favorite video games of all time. Was Rampage? That was another one where you could play with your friends. Like you could be the wolf or the lizard or the gorilla. But I want to go. I think I'm going to go see Rampage today, after I do homework and before I go to play Dig Dug. Oh my God! Look at, I'm watching all these videos. The original Mario Brothers, where you weren't like. Oh, that's so cool. There it is, Rampage, number 10, top 10 video games, video arcade games of the 80s. It's Rampage, 1986. My uncle had that game, and I would play it all the time. And they have names too, right? Like Lizzie or George or something like that. Bubble Bobble. Holy cow. Bubble Bobble. I hated that game. I hated that game, but my friend Tara really liked it. So I mean, like the development of video games, the way it's come, like it's such like, I mean, esports now. Like I was talking to my sister the other day, like I want to do this whole geek culture phenomenon, Dragon's Lair. I was never so mad at an arcade game than I was at Dragon's Lair. I couldn't understand what I was supposed to do. And then, you know how they pop it up in Stranger Things season 2, I believe they have Dragon's Lair in there, one of the first couple scenes. And I don't know I didn't know how to play. Like I didn't know what I was supposed to do. Yeah, it cost twice the cost of every other game. I'd play it for like a minute, not even a minute, and I would die. But oh well. But yeah, that was Dig Dug. I love Dig Dug. But yeah, I mean, like, so I hear all these like old timers, you know, like in my line of work, there's a lot of old school like farmer types and who've never really understood the allure of video gaming. And I try to compare it to something that they enjoy doing, like they like to golf. And I'm like, well, how is video gaming any different than golfing, other than the physical activities, you know, like walking and whatnot? But I mean, they just don't understand how video games work and how like you can make money off of it now. Like you can totally be a professional video gamer. You can totally be a professional video gamer. And you can make money. It's not easy, but you could do it. Like I was showing my sister the other day, I was going down list of Patreon's pages where people do stuff like this. And this is my goal. My goal is I want to do something like this where I can talk to people about my passions. Oh, Gauntlet. Oh my goodness, Gauntlet was such a fun game. Oh, Gauntlet was so fun. But, you know, I mean, podcasting, blogging, streaming video games, it's not just about the streaming the video games. I'm trying to harbor a culture of acceptance from this geek nation, which has gone leaps and bounds. Like, people love all things nerdy now, and I think that's great. I always often joke that, yeah, Galaga. I often joke that I missed. Wow, yeah, and it never ends. Did you guys ever get to the end of it? They have a new, like, updated graphical version of Gauntlet on Steam now that I was playing with Brad for a little bit. We would get on and play together. I haven't played it in a long time. But it was fun. It was a really neat game to play. Frogger's the #3 arcade game of the 80s. Yeah. Yeah, that's I remember reading the back of Kung Fu saying there was 99 levels. And I think I gave up after like a level 130 or something like that. 7.5 hours of play. Yeah, they just re-render. But I mean, that's where it's at. Like, you know, like, it's such a fun game. I bet you Pac-Man or Miss Pac-Man has to be the #1 game of the 80s, right? Donkey Kong's #2. Oh, sorry, Billy Mitchell. Donkey Kong's #2, and it's a record you'll never have. He's banned. Oh my goodness, he's banned from ever entering. Wow, that's crazy. Well, good for them. Cheaters never win, winners never cheat. Donkey Kong Jr. I like that one. I like Donkey Kong Jr. Honorable mentions, Double Dragon. Oh, that was fun. I like Double Dragon. It was a neat game too. Missile Commander. My favorite 3 Genesis games: Lion King. Oh my god. Lion King, Sonic, and Mortal Kombat. Miss Pac-Man, #1 game. We had Ghostbusters for the Sega Master System, and I absolutely loved Ghostbusters. That was such a fun game. We had Missile Defense 3D, where you wore 3D glasses and shot missiles out of the sky with your blaster. We had this like cowboy game where it was like a oh shoot, yes, oh shoot. What? Oh shoot! What? Yeah, me too. I couldn't for the longest time at the end of the game for the Sega. I don't know if it was the same for the Genesis, but at the end of the, like when you got to go up and face like the big bads, you had to get into the building. The Marshmallow Man, Stay Puft jumped back and forth, and you had to time it. Huh. All right. Oh shoot! Nothing. Cool. All right. Crazy lady. So I mean, like when it comes to like PlayStations and stuff like that, I never really had like favorite games in the newer genres until Like they came out with like Mass Effect, Dragon Age. Like I never really got super excited about games after like the original console wars. Like Assassin's Creed, when that first came out, I was like, wow, this game is great. And then it ended, and I didn't know that they were making a second one, and I flipped out, and I was so upset the way it ended. Now I just assume that everything's going to have like 2 or 3 games added onto it. But a lot of the gaming that I do nowadays is online gaming. Like I play Final Fantasy, A Realm Reborn, or Stormblood as it is now, Neverwinter. I just started a new game on my console the other day, Terra, T-E-R-A. I guess it's been out for a little bit. I started playing it the other day. It's a neat little game. I think I'm going to enjoy it. It's free to play on PC, on Xbox One, and on PlayStation 4. Very action-oriented kind of MMO. I'm only level like 12, but it seems like it's a game that I'll play to break up some of the grinding that I'm doing in Neverwinter right now because I'm such a high level. But I played the Batman Arkham games because of Batman, obviously. Shadow of Mordor, I was really excited for when that came out. Assassin's Creed Origin, I was really excited about. The new one coming out, I'm excited about the new God of War game coming out. That's going to be great. Oh, Tomb Raider. Those games were great too. The Tomb Raider games, the new ones. The old ones were fun, but the new ones are just amazing games. The new Spider-Man game looks pretty good. But like a lot of my video gaming that I do is not based on like single player games where I just run through and play the game. It's MMOs where I'm playing with groups and groups and groups of people. Like the main game that I play right now is Neverwinter, which is an MMO based on Dungeons and Dragons, and I play that 5-6 times a week for sometimes 2 hours. Like usually it's about 2 hours at a time, but some days I play it for 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday or Sunday. And I'm in an awesome guild. I'm in an awesome alliance. I just accepted a promotion to become one of their officers. So thank you again for those of you watching that are from the Order of Knights Radiant and Neverwinter on PC. Much appreciated the trust you have in me and being a good officer. So those are the games I tend to lean towards now, is like games that I can play with other people, but not have to like be a first-person shooter. I don't like PvP, player versus player. I do not like player versus player. Unless it's in like DC Universe Online, is a game I played for years and years. The PvP in that, the Legends PvP, was really fun because you would play as an established superhero. Like I could go in, if I had Superman and Batman unlocked, I could play as one of those guys. And it wasn't commiserate with my gear score or like my item level or my skill points or blah blah blah. It was none of that. It was they had a set amount of gear, they had a set, they had their stuff. You were playing Superman. Now you go in there and you play, and it's all about the skill. It's all about the player skill. It has nothing to do with gear. And that's where it really shines. Like, I played PvP against a bunch of people where I've had a quarter of the gear score. Yeah, that was Battlefield 1942 was a great game. My big game in the 2000s would have been... I didn't do a whole lot of gaming in the 2000s. I did, but I didn't. You know, like... I can't think of any. Oh, no, I was playing all of the sports games. I played Madden. I played, like, Madden and the baseball game pretty much from, like, 1999, 2000, 2001, all the way up to, like, 2010. Because that's all I did was play, like, sports games. Because I could come home and I could make my own team and I could make my own player and I could relive my dreams of being a Major League Baseball player or a quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys or left wing for the Blackhawks, defense for the Blackhawks, whatever it was. Those are my biggest games. But now the games, all I played now are MMOs. I tried playing those the MOBA, which is I guess a multi-online battle arena. So breaking it down genre-wise, right? So I'm really excited about the God of War game that's coming out because I want to see they've done some interesting things with their combat mechanics. It's a neat story, and it's a single-player game. Like those type of games, like God of War, the Batman Arkham games, Shadow of Mordor, when I get excited about those games, it's got to be about story. Like I had an immense amount of time, or fun, sorry, I had an immense amount of fun playing the Deadpool game that came out a couple years ago. Disclaimer, not good for children, but I had a lot of fun playing it. I actually have it sitting right down here for the PS3. I had a lot of fun playing that game, but the story was kind of and it was really repetitive. The combat was really repetitive, which happens in a lot of these games. You find a combo and you just use it. But as long as the cutscenes and the story is really, really good, then yeah, I'm going to enjoy it. Graphics now plays a huge part. Like it always makes me laugh when I watch these kids playing like Minecraft. Only because like I went from that pixelated version of a game to like the realism that we have now, and I don't want to go back. I understand the allure to it. There's so much you can do in like Minecraft, and that's really neat. But graphics are super important, story is super important, and that's for like the single player games that I get out to. When it comes to like a an MMO, graphics are pretty important. Whether or not it's free to play or if there's a subscription, what are the player bases like? Are they really hardcore and mean? And like what I found out a lot of times is, up until I got in this new guild that I'm in, there was I would go into a dungeon or a raid or whatever, and if I didn't know what I was doing, people would get mad, kick me. So the community is what gets me on an MMO. The people that I play with on the MMO. It could be the worst game in the world, but I'll play it. Like Neverwinter, I get it all the time. People tell me, why do you play Neverwinter? It's so blah, blah, blah. And it's not a horrible game. It's not the greatest game out there. Final Fantasy Online is 10 times better. Story-wise, gameplay-wise, class-wise, it's so much better and more in-depth than Neverwinter ever could hope to be. But the group of people that I play with on Neverwinter are going to keep me playing on Neverwinter until they decide they don't want to play Neverwinter anymore. So that's what gets me about new games. Established IPs like God of War, Shadow of Mordor, like Batman games, anything that has something that I can relate to. Like, it's hard for me to jump into a game that I don't already know some of the history behind. Like Assassin's Creed was a really awesome game to me because it was based in real life places and it drew from real life history. They fictionalized a lot of it, but like, especially when you get into Assassin's Creed 2 and they're running all over Italy and he runs into like, you befriend like Da Vinci, and he's got all these new gadgets for you to use, and like they have these little pickups that you get where you can read history, and like those games are cool to me as long as like they're done right. But new games are hard for me to get into, like that I don't know a whole lot about. But once I do, like, so there was a game for the Xbox that I played called Indigo Prophecy, but in Japan or in Europe it was released as Fahrenheit. And I downloaded it on Steam. That game was fun. There's so many choices for you to make, and it was a deep story, not really action driven, but the story was really, really good. Telltale Games does a good job of that now, where it takes a lot of the pressure off of button combos and what do you got to do, and puts a lot of focus on developing a good story for people. Yeah, I don't have to look for a whole lot in a game now, but The Force Unleashed. Oh my goodness, that was probably one of my favorite games. It was the first Star Wars game other than the Old Republic where I felt like I was a Jedi. Like the power that I had was throwing stuff around. It was pretty good. Oh, so yeah, I'm playing Terra and Neverwinter now. Star Citizen, holy cow. This is going to be the game. Star Citizen promises so much, and they're in development. They got a great voice cast, but they're in development. I don't know if they're ever going to go live, but they're in beta, and I play it with Topher and one of my other friends, Eric. We're super hard into it. Well, Eric's more into it than I am because there's a lot of bugs in I have to upgrade my machine. But holy cow. Holy cow. If this game does 1/4 or 1/5 of what it promises to do, it's going to be great. It's got like EVE Online. It's got like Final Fantasy. Like it's so ambitious that I can't wait for it. Should YouTube some videos and some gameplays of Star Citizen. Huh. Well, let's see. Video games coming up. Yeah, right now I guess the only video games coming up that I'm going to be looking for are God of War and Spider-Man. I guess they're going to do a Last of Us Part 2. Oh, Becoming Human looks like it would be alright too. But I don't know. Shadow of the Colossus remake came out in February. Kingdom Come Deliver Us. Oh, Sea of Thieves came out, and I want to. It's a pirate game. I'm not very big into pirates, but kind of want to try it. Let's see, we're in April, right? We Happy Few came out this week, or comes out this week. Survival-based game set in dystopian fictional 1960s English town. Sunless Skies is coming out. Jurassic World Evolution. Call of Cthulhu game coming out sometime in 2018. That'll be fun. Crackdown 3 is going to come out. Red Dead Redemption 2, that one's Become Human. Vampire. State of Decay 2, Metro Exodus, Anthem. Yeah, nothing really other than God of War coming out that's got my interests peaked. All right. Well, I guess that was not as ambitious as I thought it was going to be of a show. I mean, it's only an hour and a half in, but video games, you know, they're kind of important to the landscape of society right now. So, the game, I never played the game Pool of Radiance. Never played it. But that was the first Dungeons and Dragons book that I read was Pool of Radiance. Yeah, let's move. Let's talk. We talk D&D video games. Neverwinter Nights, Baldur's Gate 2. All of those games I absolutely loved. Temple of Elemental Evil, which I got into an argument with a friend. He kept telling me it was Return to Temple of Elemental Evil. The game was called Temple of Elemental Evil. The RPG module was called the Return to the Temple of Elemental Evil. Dungeons and Dragons Online I was never really a big fan of. Neverwinter I play. It's based on Dungeons and Dragons. But my all-time favorite... I think my all-time favorite D&D game would have to be the Temple of Elemental Evil. That or Neverwinter Nights. Or Icewind Dale. Icewind Dale was fun too. But I didn't play, I never played Pool of Radiance. Dungeons and Dragons video games. DDO Online. Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter. Planescape Torment came out in '99. Neverwinter Nights. Let's see, here we go. Pool of Radiance. Right, that came out. Was that the first one? Was Pool of Radiance the first D&D game? 1988, yeah. That was the first one. Never played that one. Gold Box, Pool of Radiance, set in the Forgotten Realms. It was on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Came out in 1988. 1988, I was 11 and not yet fully involved into Dungeons and Dragons yet. 1988, I was super huge into superheroes. I played TSR's Marvel Superheroes games religiously. The next one that came out was a year later called Hillsfar. Also set in the Forgotten Realms. You created a character. Game provides 3 choices. Players may select a pre-made character, create their own, import characters from previous strategic simulations, Dungeons and Dragons, computer games such as Pool of Radiance and Curse of the Azure Bonds. That was... So Curse of the Azure Bonds and Hillsfar came out in 1989. Secret of the Silver Blade. Okay, here it is. The first actual Dungeons and Dragons video game that I ever played was Eye of the Beholder that came out on the Super Nintendo in 1990. That was the very, very first one that I came out. And apparently there are 2 sequels that I never played for that one. Eye of the Beholder came out in 1990. Pools of Darkness, 91. Eye of the Beholder 2 came out in 91. Death Knights of Kryn came out in 91. Gateway to the Savage Frontier came out in 91. Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of like how the creation went in Marvel. Phase rip as it was, like, you could go through and pick your powers, but most of the powers that we did were randomly generated. I still, to this day, every time I get into one, I ask if I can make my character. My very first character that I ever made, completely randomly generated. I called him Iceberg. He ended up being a clone of the Incredible Hulk and Iceman together, like with Giant Man. Right, like, so I had a growth power where I could get super huge. I could sheathe myself in ice, and I got super ragey and like kind of invulnerable, like the Hulk, and super strong. So that was my original guy that I randomly rolled him up. Oh, here we go. Neverwinter Nights originally came out in 1991. TurboGrafx 16 had Order of the Griffin, which was in Mystara. Warriors of the Eternal Sun came out in 92 for the Genesis. Did I play that one? I might have played that one. I want to say it was like a... I don't know, maybe it feels like it was like a gauntlet type game. But I don't remember. The Dark Queen of Kryn, 92. Treasures of the Savage Frontier, 92. Here you go, Spelljammer, 1992. Oh yeah, that's, I'm seeing that everything's made by SSI. Everything. Dark Sun, Shattered Legends, 1993, SSI. That was where I fell in love with Dark Sun. Dark Sun, Shattered Lands. Dark Sun, Wake of the Ravager. Ravenloft, Strahd's Possession came out 94. Oh my god, there was an online, Dark Suns Online in 1996, the year I graduated. That's why I don't know. Baldur's Gate came out in 1998. 1998, Baldur's Gate came out. Baldur's Gate Tales of the Sword Coast came out in 99. Planescape Torment came out in 99. Icewind Dale came out in 2000. Shadows of On came out in 2000. Oh my goodness. 2001, Pool of Radiance, Runes of Myth Draenor came out for Windows, 2001. Neverwinter Nights was released again in 2002. Icewind Dale 2, 2002. Eye of the Beholder again, 2002. Dungeons and Dragons Heroes for the Xbox. I had that game. That was kind of a fun game. Temple of Elemental Evil came out on September 16th, 2003. Happy birthday, Mama. Neverwinter Nights, Hordes of the Underdark. Wow, there's a lot of games. Lots of them. Daggerdale came out in 2011. BioWare, for the longest time, BioWare has been my favorite video game developer. BioWare did the Jade Empire. They did the Knights of the Old Republic. They did Mass Effect, Dragon Age. BioWare, right? Am I getting that right? Yes. BioWare has been, for the longest time, one of if not my favorite video game developer. I absolutely love BioWare. Yeah, I mean, you just look at the list of their games, like Shattered Steel, Baldur's Gate. They did Baldur's Gate 2, Neverwinter Nights. Knights of the Old Republic was probably my favorite game for a long time. Then Jade Empire was like a Knights of the Old Republic, but like Kung Fu story. Mass Effect. Whew. They did Sonic Chronicles. Wow. And then, of course, Dragon Age Origins, which I loved, still do. Oh, they do Warhammer Online. They canceled. They were going to do Warhammer Online. Got canceled in March of 2013. Shadow Realms. Oh, man. That would have been fun. Got canceled 2015. They canceled Shadow Realms and went with Mass Effect Andromeda, which was... That's where they kind of lost me a little bit with Mass Effect Andromeda. That wasn't great. Anthem. Here's their new one. It's an upcoming online multiplayer action role-playing video game being developed by BioWare and published by EA. What? There's no paper in there. It's a third-person shooter and action role-playing in a contiguous open world shared with up to 4 other players, in which they take the role of a freelancer donning fully customizable exosuits called javelins. Huh. Anthem. That one could be a good one. Let's see what we got here. Anthem official teaser trailer. Enjoy the music and the aquarium. I'm going to step away for just a second to get rid of some of this coffee. I'll be right back. If you're down for the gang, come fuck with the gang, we'll fuck That was a good one, Stu. BioWare break. I like it. I didn't see that until I got back. Thank you. BioWare break. Anthem looks like it could be a good game. So now that it's looks like I got something else to be excited for. Slated for a 2019 release. We'll see if that happens. Probably not, but whatever. It might. Looks like a Mass Effect-y type game, which is okay. I don't mind. I like Mass Effect actually. Yeah, absolutely love BioWare. So now we can't have a video game show where we talk about video games without mentioning first-person shooters. I know I did a little bit earlier, but I mean they're so all over the world now. Like, I mean, Fortnite. Fortnite is taking the world by storm. Like, you go and you watch on Twitch, you can watch guys play Fortnite all day, every day. Yeah, this Anthem looks like it could be a great game. Oh yeah, Anthem is going to be a fun game. Whoa! Oh! Oh yeah. Huh. Totally gonna play this game. For sure gonna play Anthem. Fortnite. Oh my god. I gotta play Fortnite because the kids want me to play Fortnite. I don't want to play Fortnite because I'm bad at those games. But maybe that's what I need to do. I need to play those games. And people will... Oh, where'd it go? Where'd it go? It disappeared on me. Oh my goodness. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Do 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 do. All right, well, yeah, I mean, Dark Souls Remastered's coming out this year. Kingdom Hearts 3. Conan Exiles. Ooh, Conan Exiles. What is this?
Her cries can still be heard. We would wait.
Yeah, man, this thing looks awesome. Definitely not for children. Violence, blood, gore, nudity.
During the year of the Cobra, a prisoner captured by unknown means was transported into the exiled lands, crucified, and left to die for crimes that they may or may not have committed, until fate intervenes.
May 8th? Why is this the first time I'm hearing about this? Yeah, oh, that looks kind of cool. That might be a new one that I play. That looks like something I'm gonna play. So there's that. Let's pull this up. I gotta pull up 67 books, right?
We stand together, united as one. Forward on we go, facing friend and foe.
All right, so
We'll know what it is. We have not time.
getting to the point of the show where we're gonna start winding down here. I want to thank you, Stuart, for stopping by and hanging out with me this morning. Didn't get a lot of radio play, but hey, I'm gonna keep plugging through it until I got people that want to come and follow me. So any tips, tricks, suggestions for me, let me know. I'd appreciate it. I'm totally new. I don't know what I'm doing here, other than just blowing smoke and talking, which I like to do. So I'm just going to continue to talk about. Oh, one thing I wanted to do. I wanted to talk about. So there's a record of this. You know, earlier I had mentioned the fact that people are making money off of doing this thing. I'm not trying to do this to make money. If that happens, great. I'm going to continue to do this show, my video game streaming. I'm starting a blog, a website, blah, blah, blah. I've been, Stuart, you've been a very, very big supporter of me for the last couple of years. And certain circumstances have come up that have not allowed me to further my goals. But now I'm going to put forth a bigger effort to do that. So hopefully one day this will be my job. Whether it's on my own or with a company where I do stuff like this. But I'm going to start putting out some blog posts and whatnot, and maybe that'll help generate some interest in talking to me. Other than that, I really, really appreciate you being supportive of me. I am going to start something that I've been wanting to do. I'm going to start a Ranger Reek book club, right? Where once a month or whatever, we're going to talk about a book that we're going to read. And the book club is going to have its roots stuck in the Appendix N series of the AD&D book. We're going to do a random number generator. There's 67 books. And there's 67 books, I believe, in Gary Gygax's Appendix N. See, it's got... I do not currently have any DM Guild products I can plug. There will be some up, hopefully by the middle of May. I'm working on a rather big project with a couple different other... Okay. All right, the Belgariad series. Let's see, I'm trying to figure out, is there... Yeah, no, I am going to have stuff up on the DMs Guild. I don't currently have anything up on the DMs Guild, but a regular contributor to my life, Topher, the Monolith, does. I don't know whether it's under... I'm going to have to find out here. Is it under Christopher Muller or is it under Topher? He's got an adventure up there. It's been there for a while. It's called Help a Druid. It's by Christopher Muller. He's only asking $1 for the PDF. It's the start of a three adventure arc where there's a place called Song of Rest and he needs heroes to do it. Check it out if you get a chance. There's a preview to it. I edited it for him. I did the editing for him. So yeah, he's a big contributor on what we're gonna co-release some big stuff coming up here soon that we're gonna be playtesting eventually. But yeah, so Help a Druid by Christopher Muller on the DMs Guild. Take a look. Help a Druid, that's the one. From Christopher Muller. Help a Druid, edited by yours truly, Ranger Reek. And with that, we're going to pick our random book. So, let's see, 67 books out of Gary Gygax's Appendix N. I don't know. So actually, there's a couple of them that are like part 2s and 3s. So maybe I don't do it by this list. Alright, so randomly generating a number. We are going to come up with number 17. Book number 17 on Gary Gygax's list is a little look. Oh! This is so funny. This was totally random, and Topher and I were talking about this. So we're gonna do the yeah, oh, for sure, for sure. I got a list where I have all the authors and the books listed, and number 17 on my list that I have is Swords and Deviltry, which is the first book in the Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser series. So, Sword and Deviltry, Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser, we're going to read that, followed by Swords Against Death, Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser 2. Those are going to be the first two books that we read in the Ranger Reek. And see, that's funny. I've never read it. I've never read Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. But I hear it's great, and I'm super excited. So, I'm going to see what's today's date. Today is Saturday, April 14th. What do you think, a month, Stu? You think a month's good enough? You think a month's good? So, 1, 2, 3. So, Saturday, May 12th. Well, do you want to do the whole series? I was going to do just one. Because I don't know. I mean, I'll have them both done in like 2 weeks. But if you want it, we'll do this, the Fofford and the Grey Mouser 1 and 2 by May 12th, which you want to do? Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. We'll do Swords and Deviltry. We'll give everybody 30 days to read it. What do you think? Well, so 30 days would bring us to May 12th, which is the day before Mother's Day. I don't know if we want to do it that day. Or we'll do, I'll tell you what, we'll do May 19th. Saturday, May 19th, Speakin Geek with Ranger Reek is going to be a book review and discussion on Swords and Deviltry, Fofford and the Grey Mouser. And I don't know if you have a Discord account, Stu, but I would very much so like you to create one and actually be a guest on air so we can discuss. I'll get you, I'll get Topher, and anybody else listening or watching who wants to be a part of the on-air discussion of Fofford and the Grey Mouser, Book 1, Swords and Deviltry, on May 19th. Shoot me a shout out and we'll get you involved, and we'll go and we'll talk about what we like about it, what we don't like about it. Is there anything that, you know, that was inspirational to you? So that's what we're going to do. Oh, hey, Monolith, thanks for joining. You're joining at the wrong time. Just about to log off. I plugged, I don't know if you saw it, but I plugged for you, buddy. I plugged. Help a Druid, DM's Guild, Monolith, Christopher Muller. Great adventure. Great adventure. But if you're watching now, you heard first ever book club selection for Ranger Reek's Tome of Knowledge. That's what we'll call it. Oh, no, man. Thank you for writing it. First ever Ranger Reek Tome of Knowledge book club is going to be Fofford and the Grey Mouser #1. Randomly generated out of the 67 books in Appendix N. That was the first one. So May 19th is when we're going to do our on-air review and discussion of Fofford and the Grey Mouser. With that, I would like to say thank you to Stuart Helm. Well, that's all right. You just keep plugging away and you'll get it. We got to play it. I've never played it, so I want to play it. Thanks, Stuart, for stopping by and always providing me with great questions for the time being. Sissy, as always, thank you for stopping by and waking up and taking care of the dog. Monolith, thanks for stopping by again. Thronezilla, thanks for watching. New followers, Fortnite Rookie and Brianico. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Till next weekend, stay safe. Enjoy your video games, your reading, whatever it may be. I hope you have a great week. I'll see you throughout the week on the worst show ever on twitch.tv /Ranger Reek, where I'll be playing Neverwinter, Terra, and or Fortnite this week. Thanks again. I hope you have a great day and see you next time.